Hey everyone, this is Tom, the PT Gamer Guy, coming out with you some videos on Final Fantasy XI Eden server. It's a server I've been playing on for about 8 months now. I've been streaming on it for about 2 to 3 months. People keep popping in with a lot of questions about the server, so we decided to make a video series just to give some general information, some tutorials on how to get started, just what to expect if you get into the server. So let's jump right into it. Eden is a Final Fantasy XI server based in 2007-2008. The last expansion there is Treasures. It's a level 75 cap server. It's very different from retail. So the first question some people have is differences between retail. Retail offers trusts. Trusts are not on this server. Trust came much later in the life of Final Fantasy XI. So it means you actually have to level with people. It's an MMO. You actually have to connect with the community and get to know people. You can't just solo through this game. This is a game that you really have to group together with. That's what really brought a community together back in this golden age of Final Fantasy XI, according to many, including myself. A couple of other differences, another one being that you don't have home point warps. And retail as it is now, you can warp crystal to crystal, really cutting travel time down. That is not a thing, and that was never a thing back in this era of the game. You actually had to explore. You actually had to get out and explore the world of Vana'diel. So you actually have to do that again in this server. And a lot of people like that aspect of it, the exploration, the danger of the world, the fact that you can get aggro and die, en route somewhere. It's frustrating, but it adds a level of immersion. Of course, you have the old experience points rates. I know they made leveling very quick in the retail version of the game. No longer the case. You actually have the old XP rates. You can solo, but it's very slow. Very much is encourages, again, that community building, playing with party, getting in a group. There are no Field of Valor or ground tombs. Those are additions to the game later where you grab a page and kill X number of this guy and X number of that guy, and you get a bonus. You get XP bonuses. That's not a thing here. You do have outpost warps, you do have teleports. Those were always in the game. Those will always be a part of the game. You have old school notorious monsters. Notorious monsters in the game now as it is. They introduced, I know what I need to do. Let me change something real quick. They added rare EX versions of different NM drops, meaning, like for example, Leaping Lizzie drops a rare EX version of the Leaping Boots. On Eden, you have those boots only coming from the Notorious Monster. You don't get the item from the BCNM. You actually have to camp the mob to get the item. So that means the old competitive Notorious Monster camping. People loved it. People hated it. It's part of the game in Eden. Not really part of the game in retail as far as I'm aware. Some interesting times, that's for sure. In my experience, Eden is the most closest thing to a classic server you're going to get from Final Fantasy XI as it stands right now. It's a private server based off of Darkstar Project, DSP. None of those are going to perfectly emulate Final Fantasy XI from 2007-2008. They're just not going to do it. But in my experience, I'm playing in multiple private servers. This one gets it the closest. But there are some differences. So for example, number one, level sync. Level sync is in the server. It's unrestricted, meaning how it was in retail. You can level sync from level 75 down to level 10, meaning you can play with your friends at any level. The difference is on retail, when they implemented level sync, your gear would level sync down with you. However, on Eden, it does not level sync down with you. When you level sync down, your gear becomes unequipped, which means you have to have second supply of gear for those levels. That creates a lot of inventory issues. In Final Fantasy XI, inventory is always an issue. Inventory is always a premium. So what they did to combat this is they allowed access to Mog wardrobes 1 and 2. Now those are not in era. Those were not a thing back in 2007-2008. But on Eden, they opted to allow those to combat the inventory issues due to the fact that level sync unequips your gear. I think that's a smart choice. And they also locked those Mog wardrobes behind content, meaning you have to achieve rank 3 to get access to the first one, rank 6 to get access to the second one. There's always people wanting access to 3 and 4. maybe with the inclusion of C, that'll be a thing in the future. That brings me to content. What content is available on Eden? Right now, COP only goes up to the airship fight, so they do not have C yet. It is something that is their big next push, is to get access to C. You get access to Zillart missions, and Sky, all the Sky Gods, Kieran, all the fun that comes with that kind of endgame content. And treasures, you can unlock Corsair, Puppet Master, no assaults yet, no salvage yet, so none of that content. There are a couple Imperial Standing Notorious Monsters that I have not participated in, but I know they're out there. But I know assaults and salvage is the next thing they're working on after C, from my understanding of it. Another thing that people always ask on streams, what's the server population like on Eden? So right now, server population anywhere from 300 to 600 people, in that range, depending on time of day. To me, the server never feels dead. It always feels like there's life in the server. Yeah, I'd probably say there is probably a solid 300 to 400 active players of the game. You are allowed to dual box. Some sort of different server rules is you can dual box. You can have 2 characters in the field at any time. You can have a third one online, but they cannot be in the field, but they can be basically for a bazaar. They can be selling stuff. You can have access to as many alts as you want otherwise, but only 3 online at a time, 2 in the field, 1 bazaar. You can check out EdenXI.com. It'll give you a lot more information. I'm just knocking stuff over. Check out EdenXI.com. It's more information on the server itself. Great spot for that. We got to talk about the auction house. In Eden, on the auction house, you can list unlimited items, as many as you want. You can list 50 plus, unlimited. You can list as much as you want, and it stays on the auction house as long as you want it to. Also, you don't pay a fee to list on the auction house, so you can list forever, essentially. There's some pros and cons to that. Pros meaning that, economy-wise, that really helps keep the auction house populated with items. One of the big downsides, though, is that somebody can manipulate a market. People can really push people out of the market by having unlimited listings. The other downside is somebody can list a bunch of items at a pretty, inflated price, maybe, and then they quit the server. And those stay in the auction house forever at that inflated price, so it sometimes misleads people when they go to view the auction house. Downside view the lister is when you go to check your sales status, you can only check 7 items at a time. He has 2 limitations, right? You can only check 7 items at a time, but you might have 60 items listed. What that means, basically, in this server, is that if you want to go relist items, you have to take them down one by one to get to the item you want to relist, get it, and then relist it back on the auction house. It's kind of a tedious process if you want to relist. The other downside is after you check your sales status, if you have more than 7 on there, you have to zone before you can relist. So there's some tedious aspects to having that, but really I think the pros of having unlimited listings outweigh the cons dramatically. A couple other small differences. For one, Astro Rings. Astro Rings in retail come from a BCNM fight. On Eden, you can actually get them from the Castle Ostroza coffer. It means a lot of thieves are out there with thief tools trying to pop those coffers to get Astro Rings. I believe, I'm not 100% sure on the choice behind that, but there was a reason somewhere. Now, the other question people ask on streams all the time is the difference between this private server and other private servers. Not even going to touch that one right now. There's other videos out there on YouTube. Check those out. Just know that Eden, in my opinion, is the closest thing you're going to find to a classic FFXI experience. Highly recommend it. Definitely join the server if you can. Go to the website, follow their installation rules. I'm not even going to go over that because it's pretty straightforward. You follow their instructions, you'll be online. Hit up me, Darklighter in Game, if you got any questions. Otherwise, you can check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/TomThePTGamerKai. I am streaming Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. And more than welcome, or more than happy. There you go. More than happy to lend a hand anybody new coming to the server. To give you an idea for future videos, we're going to be coming out with the next video will be on just starting on Eden. What nation should I choose? What race should I choose? What job should I choose? How do I get money? How do I do this? What do I do in this server? Some Eden specific things to help you kind of get kicked off on the game. Talk about experience points, parties, jobs in general, just different job classes and kind of how they fit into the server, how people kind of progress through the level grind, and what that looks like. It looks so much more different than I remember it being on retail, just because the game has evolved over the years. I will talk a little bit about endgame too. I'm not big into endgame right now, but I can give a little bit of idea from my understanding, and we'll talk some endgame things. Other than that, appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll see you in game, or see you at Twitch Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays evenings. Have a good day. Thanks. If you found the information in this video helpful and useful to you, please click on the like and subscribe button below, and make sure to follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/TomThePTGamerGuy. Thank you very much.